Welcome to Living Abundantly with Sarah Vie. I am so grateful to be here with all of you today. At Living Abundantly, we believe true manifestation begins within. That's why each inspiring guest shares their powerful story and remarkable vision. I always say, if they can do it, so can you. I am your host, Sarah Vie, a international three-time best-selling author and lifestyle design expert, and I am on a personal mission to inspire abundance through all of our life's ups and even the downs. Marianne Klein was born in Budapest, lived in Paris after World War II until she transferred to Montreal for adoption. Marianne wrote her memoir, All the Pretty Shoes, as a tribute to her longtime soulmate after his passing. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. It's my honor to be here.
Oh my gosh, well, it's an honor to have you here. And there's so much abundance in our life stories, especially when we allow our traumas to become our gifts. Can you share a little bit about your incredible background growing up and your experience in the war?
Well, of course, I lost my mother when I was 11 years old to tuberculosis. So by the time the war broke out, I was 13 years old. And then the Germans took my father by gunpoint. And having taken my father, left me completely alone because our family was at odds. I was a dropout because of my mother's illness. They didn't want to have anything to do with me. So I had to really take care of myself. I was left alone, and all the Jews were being captured and deported, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want the Germans to capture me. So I went into hiding by myself, and I kept on going from door to door, pretending that I was somebody else. And I finally, one day, I found an empty apartment, and I hid in that apartment by myself, just imagining things, that I was going to be seeing my father, that I was going to be like Shirley Temple, that I was going to survive and do great things. Because, imagination is even more important than knowledge. And as a child, when you have imagination, your whole world belongs to you.
Oh, yes. And maybe that's, your imagination is kind of what got you through the incredibly, frightening times, especially for a little girl. So tell us about this incredible memoir, which I have downloaded and I cannot wait to dive into, but it's called All the Pretty Shoes. And, I'm getting a sense of what do the pretty shoes represent to you?
It represents a massacre that I was witness to. At the moment, I was hiding in a protective home. We have protective houses for Jews at that time, and I was in one of those. But the Germans came in, invaded the house, and they were shotgunning everybody. There was a total massacre. And except that I dove in, I just let myself fall to the ground, and I pretended to be dead until they left. And I was lying there for hours. And then once they left, I also went away, and I went and hid in a park. And where I was hiding, I could see people from the bushes. And the Germans were taking some of these Jews prisoners at the edge of Danube. And they lined them up, and they made them take their shoes off, and then they just shot them point blank, and their bodies fell into the water. And so to this day, if you go to Budapest, you see the monuments of shoes.
I've been to Budapest, one of my favorite, most beautiful places. My goodness, I would love to have known this little girl. You're kind of cheeky, as my mother is English, as she would say, as she was, talking about a little girl, you were cheeky. So this little girl is experiencing so much of this of this trauma. And, it sounds like you have had a lot of trauma. Most of us has never really experienced it. So how have you taken that trauma and experienced your life so fully?
I think it's interesting to point out that when you're 13 years old, you don't really realize all the dangers that are far away. You just know those dangers that are current, that are in front of you, and you think it's gonna stop. One of the things I couldn't understand is why I was being hated for being Jewish. I couldn't understand why. What did the Jewish people do to be hated so much? I thought we were all alike. We were all the same. We all had souls. We all laughed. We all cried. And
Right.
so I guess to a certain point, it was my innocence to help me. And then my imagination. My father used to take me to the movies, and I saw Shirley Temple movies. And I identified with Shirley Temple. I thought I was going to be just like her, and I could dance like her, and I could be sweet and loving like her. So that was part of my savings, is that I had lots of imagination. I remember sitting starving to that in that apartment by myself, and I could visualize my mother taking me shopping for patent leather shoes that always stuck to me, but patent leather shoes were, to me, that was the most beautiful shoes you could have. And I kept on imagining things, to overcome my hunger, to overcome my fear, because there
Wow.
was a lot of fear. I never knew from one minute to the next if I'm going to be die, because they could have been bombed and the house could have been destroyed, and I could have died any moment. But so when you have that feeling that your life is in danger any moment, then somehow you appreciate the moment you have. But I also learned that everything happens for a reason. And when you suffer a lot, no matter at what age, you become more compassionate, more understanding. You
Yeah.
become a better person, actually. And I
Yes.
hope I have become a better person for that.
What abundant word would you say describes your miraculous life and maybe, you overcoming these obstacles in your life? I mean, these horrendous obstacles, let me add.
I don't know how to summarize that in one word, but I just think that you've got to keep moving forward. If you
Yeah.
have a dream, if you want to have something accomplished, don't give up no matter what happens. You can't sit at home and say, oh, poor me, I had such a wonderful, terrible life. Everybody hated me. I had nobody. Yeah, I had nobody. And so I had to make sure that I was nice so that I can make friends. It was my strength. It was my belief that tomorrow will be a better day.
Sounds like you never lost hope.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is, yeah, I could go on and on. I just love your story. Amazing, amazing. And I just really want to tell you, such an honor to have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming and talking with me in my home studio.
Thank you. Have a lovely home, and it was a pleasure to meet you. You seem to be a special person yourself.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So stay where you are. We will be right back. One empowering guest to another, Vanessa Coppes, editor-in-chief of Bella Magazine, is a trailblazer in the media industry. One of only 5 Latina women in the US to lead an international publication. As the founder of Bella Media & Co., she empowers women through the magazine's global platform, which spans fashion, beauty, and culture. Oh my gosh, Vanessa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. So excited to be here.
No, So we're kind of talking about empowerment, and I am fascinated to really understand your take of this very powerful word, because our words have energy, our words have power. What does, in your opinion, does empowerment mean to you personally, particularly in the context of women in the workforce?
So it took me a little while to get to that definition, but I feel like empowerment is really owning who you are.
Yes.
Every bits and pieces, like they say, warts and
Yes.
all of it.
Yes.
And owning your mess and understanding that it's part of what made you who you are, and owning it proudly and not being ashamed of, things that happened to you in the past, because they are what have made you who you are today.
Because I really feel it's a perspective.
Oh,
even
100%.
even the things that we don't want.
Yes.
Yeah. So I love that. So we've all had moments in our lives where we have been impacted by either having power or not having power.
Yeah.
Could you share a personal story where you felt empowerment in either your personal life or your professional life?
Yeah. So it had, I feel like the moment was coming to terms with the time that I went through postpartum depression with my first son. So I was able to use that pain because what I was feeling was a disconnect from my being, right? I felt like, oh my God, is this all that I'm meant to be as a mother? And I had all of these dreams and things that I wanted to pursue.
Yes.
But what I did was, after a conversation with my own mom, she said, you're a very creative person. You're going to find a way to channel this pain into something more fruitful. And I did. I started a jewelry business, a custom jewelry business. And it was an outlet, not just a creative one, for me to feel, that I was sane.
Yeah, yes.
That I was sane, but it gave me a way to connect with other women and just feel community.
In your opinion, what are, would you say, the biggest challenges women face in achieving, I'm going to say, self-empowerment?
Yeah, I feel like the biggest challenge is trying to own this word balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like balance is non-existent. I've always said, when you say yes to something, you're saying no to multiple others. So this, we're required to not just be professional, but to be mothers, to be housewives, to be,
it's just
have
so
a PhD, to have this, to have that, and to show up looking fabulous on top of it all. And I'm like, have you been walked a day in a mother's shoes? Like when with sick children, or showing up to a boardroom. And I've done that. I remember there was a time in my life where I had to show up to a really important meeting, and my babysitter had canceled the morning of. I showed up with my baby in tow, and everybody in the room looked at me like I had 10 heads. And I said, it was this or not come, and no one is taking this opportunity away from me.
I'm sorry. There is so much pressure.
So much.
So what would you say is one of your most abundant words that describes your life today? Because you found your own empowerment.
I really think, and this is something that I believe has always defined me, is the word resilience. I am a shapeshifter. I can literally bounce back from anything. And if everything were to fall apart tomorrow, I will find a way to rebuild it again. And that's just been in me since I was young.
I love the word resilience. I definitely have that, and also determination.
And determination, for sure.
So I love that. Oh my gosh, Vanessa. Thank you so much for coming on Living Abundantly.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Stay right where you are. We will be right back. You may recognize our next guest. She has made appearances on Bravo, E! News, NBC News Now, and The Today Show. Daryn Carp, a true fan at heart and a force in the entertainment industry. From rocking the iconic NBC Page gray suit to becoming the right hand of pop culture mogul Andy Cohen. Now as co-founder of the production company Most Talkative, Daryn continues to shape the entertainment world, bringing a unique, abundant energy to every project she touches. Wow.
What an intro.
Damn.
Wow. I need you to wake me up every morning. You hype me up more than anyone I've ever been around. Thank you.
I am so happy you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Like I had said to you before, I was kind of lovingly stalking you, and
Love a loving stuff.
I love that. So you certainly have had such a wonderful career, and I would have to add creative career. And, looks like an abundant future.
Hopefully. From your lips, yes.
So
I would love to know, how were you able to create a clear vision for your dreams? I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, I've always wanted to be a game show host. That's sort of been my dream since I was about 7 years old. And I've kind of kept on that dream. But as you know, no one really tells you how to do this. You know, no one tells you kind of how to be on air. You kind of have to absorb that information as you go along. It's like you can be a doctor and take the MCAT, but you only really know the experience once you're digging into someone's spine, you know, can you really do that? And that's how it is for this. So I'm kind of creating my career as I go along. I kind of know the things I need to say no to, but I'm a yes person, and I kind of will always say yes to opportunities, at least to test my skills and see where I can, you know, be a benefit.
I love that. But, you know, sometimes life can feel like an uphill journey.
Yes.
I've definitely
most of the time. Yes.
Most of the time, especially if you're an entrepreneur. What advice would you give anyone who feels like they want to just kind of throw in the towel? And how many times have we felt that? You know, and abandoning their dreams. You know, what would you tell them to keep going?
I mean, I would hate to tell anyone to abandon their dreams, although I do think sometimes practicality needs to set in. And obviously, you don't want to be a starving artist forever. But I mean, any kind of moment can really change your life. I mean, my fiance is always like, put your head down, do the work, good things will come. I mean, if you're authentic and you have a passion, you don't really ever get to work a day in your life because you're always working for this goal.
Exactly.
But one of the things I do think is really important to remember, because people are always like, you know, I'll do something great. And then I'm like, okay, what's next? It's also to kind of enjoy the moment where you're at too. It's okay to be comfortable where you're at. You know, and like good things will come from that. But just like, I think in this society, we're always thinking about the next thing, and it doesn't make us grateful for what's happening right now. I constantly have to remind myself of that. So that's an important lesson.
That's absolutely true. But something that I have definitely been shifting in my own life is my relationships to setbacks.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so what would be your advice about, you know, when somebody is having a setback, or even in your personal life, how have you been able to deal with setbacks?
Sometimes better than other times. I'm not going to sit here and say that I always do it well. I mean, I'm a catastrophizer. The one common thread is that I've just picked my head up the next day and just kept going. And that's always helped me. I find that it's more of like a temporary mood than it really is like life trying to get me down. And it feels so cliche, but honestly, like picking yourself back up and going forward. I mean, you just never know when you're going to get that yes. It's a million no's until you get that one yes, but that yes makes it worth it.
Right. And then when you're through the setback,
you can really accomplish something.
Look back on it and like, oh, I know why that happened. So
also, failure teaches you lessons. I mean, you know, not knowing, you don't know sometimes what you don't know. And if you're always perfect, you're always getting this, you can't really appreciate it because you've never had any setbacks to really feel grateful for your
well, my relationship has definitely changed. So I love to ask this question. You know, you're kind of a newbie here. But what would you say is one abundant word that describes your fun, creative life?
It's kind of like organized chaos. Like is how I would describe it. I'm a type A. I respond well to organization and routine. But I think part of the thing that makes my life fun is a little bit of the chaos, is a little bit of like they need someone to do this carpet last minute. And it kind of teaches me to get out of my own head in the moment and be adaptable and prepare for everything. So organized chaos is
chaos. I don't think I've
you gave me two. You said I could have two words, so I'm taking two. I'm taking the liberty.
Organized chaos. I love it. Well, I have so enjoyed your abundant energy. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you so much.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. We will be right back, so stay tuned. Welcome back. As we all know, health is wealth in the world, and dental health is a key part of living abundantly. I don't think we make that connection necessarily, but it's not just about a bright smile, but about overall vitality and well-being. Dr. Ben Miraglia is a seasoned dental expert with over 30 years of experience specializing in early childhood jaw growth and development. He's also a founding member of the Tooth Pillow and a board member of the American Academy of Physiological Medicine and Dentistry. His innovative work is transforming the way we approach dental health and overall health. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sarah. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. Can you kind of explain what mouth breathing is and why it's a concern?
Yes. So it turns out these dominoes are all connected.
Yes.
If we see crowded teeth, really they're a symptom of smaller jaws.
Right.
Smaller jaws makes it more difficult to breathe through our nose. So mouth breathing is really a compensation for not being able to breathe well through your nose.
Right.
But mouth breathing is wildly unhealthy. And so I tend to tell parents that it turns out nose breathing is your opportunity for really good health, but mouth breathing is very unhealthy.
So if a parent, suspects their child is breathing through their mouth when they're asleep, right? What are some, or some next steps that they can take to find solutions, and how do they know that they, what they are?
Yeah, since mouth breathing is going to lead to an unhealthy child with many symptoms, whether we notice it at daytime mouth breathing or nighttime mouth breathing or both, there are pathways where parents can seek help and attention for just that.
Yes.
And what I have been doing in my practice for the last 2 decades is treating children with a combination of guidance appliances and myofunctional therapy and nasal hygiene to help their breathing and musculature grow their jaws appropriately. And then when their jaws are growing better, we get better breathing, we get better sleeping, we get a healthier child.
Right.
It worked so well in the office treating patients that several other people, like myself, became the founding members of Tooth Pillow.
Right.
Tooth Pillow solves for access, because when a parent starts to look for attention for their child who's mouth breathing, the access is limited. Not very many dentists do growth and development. So you have to find someone. It could be hours away or states away. What we did with Tooth Pillow was build a model to treat the children remotely. We combined the things that we do normally in an office every day, but in a remote setting, so we could do it via teledentistry, we could say.
Wow.
I can send the kids what they need. We can monitor them remotely through apps and Zoom meetings.
Wow.
And then you could be anywhere and find this and have an opportunity to treat your child between the age of 3 and 12 in a remote fashion.
So it's just kind of a new habit to kind of teach your child with the tools that you provide in Tooth Pillow, correct?
Absolutely. You could think of it as retraining. The guides we use look like football mouth guards at a glance.
Right. Yes.
But they're designed to help a child breathe better and sleep better. What the guides do is redirect you to nasal breathe, and they redirect your muscles of the jaws to function and position properly, which aids in jaw growth and development. We combine that with myofunctional therapy, which those are big, long words for physical therapy of the head and neck.
Love that. Yes. Never thought of that. But thank you so much for coming in and sharing this, because I've never heard this before, but thank you so much for coming on the show today.
That was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. More to come, so stay where you are. Welcome back. Continuing on our health journey here, I am so happy to welcome our next guest. Dr. Melissa Heche is a leading expert in auditory health. Dr. Heche brings a unique blend of clinical expertise and hands-on experience as a musician and certified sound engineer. Dr. Heche, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. Early on, when you were deciding on your career that you wanted to step into, were you swayed because of stereotypical gender expectations?
Well, it's funny. At first, I wanted to be a performer. That was my first goal.
Right.
And when that wasn't working out the way I wanted it to, wasn't becoming the next Bette Midler, which was my goal in life.
Yeah.
I segued into voice pathology, which led me to a speech pathology master's degree.
Yes.
I wanted to become duly certified in audiology as well. And I was very much swayed against that. Or they tried to sway me against it. They didn't say that there was necessarily a gender bias, but they said it was hard. They said it was too hard to get both degrees and make both fields work.
Right.
And I wasn't given a reason why. And the best way of getting me to do something is telling me not to do it.
Exactly.
So I went through that process of getting certified in both disciplines. And then as I pursued my career and I realized, audiology wasn't enough. It didn't give me enough of the groundwork for me to do what I wanted to do with hearing conservation, particularly with musicians.
Right.
So I became a sound engineer. Now I step my foot into a male-dominated field. Audiology is mostly, and speech, mostly female-dominated, but sound engineering is male-dominated. And I really saw a whole different vernacular that was thrown at me. And that's where I really started to see a gender bias. You know, can I do this? And would I do it if I was and would they be that way if I was a male?
It's frustrating, but that's another show. So with all that said, you know, being in this male dominated career path, how do you think that you navigated through that?
So the cross between audiology, which is female dominated, and then integrating the audio engineering part of it, which is male dominated, and you know, filtering in with musicians really took a lot of nuancing for me. Because it's hard for people to believe that I have the skill set.
So I'm really interested in this. If someone was trying to break through the gender gapped profession, what would be, you know, some tips or secret sauce to break through for them? Because there are a lot of male dominated, you know, career paths. So what would you
that is a great question. It's a great question. Definitely fortitude and strength and perseveration. Just keep persevering in what you want, but know what your skill set is and keep honing that skill set so that you can address what you want to address with the experience and the knowledge and then the confidence. Confidence, I think, is part of that special sauce.
So I always end the show with this question. What would be your abundant word that describes your life and your career right now?
Oh, that's such a great question.
It can be 2 words.
I think confidence. Confidence and belief in self. And that you will always land on your feet, even if you are right now laying on your back. If you have that faith and confidence.
Faith and confidence. See, it's all, maybe I should start changing it to 2 words because I love faith and confidence. Oh my gosh. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us on Living Abundantly and answering my questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So that is it for us today. For even more content and inspiration, follow us on my YouTube channel, Living Abundantly with Sarah Vie, and I will see you next time. And here is to living abundantly.
The proceeding was sponsored by Sarah Vie, LLC.